Hello everyone and welcome back to the English shooting live stream. We are almost back on schedule. It should be 7:30 p.m. UK time every Thursday, but as a lot of people will know, it is the Northern Shooting Show tomorrow and Magload will have a stand there. And as always, there's some last minute prep. So to really eke out as much as possible and be as prepared as we can for tomorrow, I really needed that extra hour and it really did make the difference. Am I going to jinx it? Yeah, I'll jinx it. I think this is the most prepared we've ever been for a show. Saying that, I'm going to probably turn up tomorrow with the van and everything's going to have gone to shit. But anyway, welcome to the stream for all of the regulars. Thank you for joining. For anybody new, please do get involved. This is interactive. If you want to know anything about our laws, if you want an opinion on a gun or any gear, or you just want to chew the fat about shooting or anything else, then use that chat section, chat box, and start the conversation and also have your opinions heard. I'm always about hearing both sides of an opinion, so please feel free to disagree with me. A lot of you don't need any encouragement for that, or agree with me. That might make a change. And also don't forget, hit that like button. It does make a huge difference to the analytics. It helps us reach more people, and whilst we cover news that isn't always, say, positive around guns and shooting, we're all about attracting as many people into the sport as possible. So help us help them get into the sport by hitting that like button. And if you like what you see and you want to get involved more, again, we do this every single Thursday and there's other videos in between. So hit that subscribe button as well. But I hope you've all had a fantastic week of shooting. Weather is playing ball as far as shooting weather is concerned, but of course us hardy Brits, we're used to shooting in the rain, snow, or whatever conditions throw at us. If we were picky about the weather, we wouldn't get much shooting done. In terms of news, there's no, say, significant news over the past week. I ended up finding an article around the main theme and topic for this evening, which is about no gun deaths in London. Of course, yes, that doesn't mean that there's no crime. Obviously, homicide is pretty much the most serious crime, so it shows at least some progress, and there's some really interesting statistics and comparisons to previous years that we're going to go over. As I said at the start, we've got the Northern Shooting Show. That's this Saturday and Sunday, so I'll be there the whole weekend. So if you are there, drop by. We'll be talking a little bit more about the show later on. A little bit more doom and gloom, ammo shortages and ammo prices. We're going to be discussing this a bit more. We did have a whole live stream which was a little bit more speculative, and I hate to say I told you so, but it does look like there is definitely shortages and certainly higher prices coming, and doesn't seem to be slowing down. So we're going to talk a bit about the progression with that, what's happened, what's changed, when can we expect things to sort of let up and things get better. And we're also going to be talking about, I brought a prop and I prepared, I didn't forget it for once. We're also going to be talking about a new goodie from Magload. Of course, if you're at the Target Shooting Show last year and you asked us very nicely, you probably got a little sneak peek of this, but these are actually production ready to go units. So anybody in the practical shooting world or just shotgun world, you're probably going to want to know a little bit more about those. It is a world first. It's not even, there's not even slightly anything like it out there in the wild or out on the market. This is a true world first, and we're very happy and proud to, we think, be elevating the practical shotgun and practical market with this, but we'll get on to that in a little bit. So yeah, the main topic, so I'll bring up the article because I'm going to be pulling things from it. Yes, of course, crime has not been eradicated, but there have been no deaths due to firearms within London so far this year. And when you compare that to other years' statistics, it's a bit of an anomaly. There's also a massive reduction in knife crime. It's not that they've switched. And I think this is interesting and also very positive for the sports shooting community as a whole, because of course any crime, whether it's committed with an illegally held firearm or a legal held firearm, it always seems come back to the lawful shooters of the country. It is the people that shoot lawfully that always tend to get the shitty end of the stick with legislation. And of course, we know how criminals love to follow legislation. Now, yes, forgive me, I am going to be using a Guardian article, so take it with a pinch of salt. But this is the article. No London shooting deaths in 6 months as police say gun trade stifled. The really funny thing is that the police, and I think they get into it pretty quickly, Metropolitan police chiefs are trying to work out what has led to the fall in gun deaths and gun attacks in the capital. I mean, I love that. You gotta, like, sometimes you just gotta laugh. The police are like, yeah, we're doing a really good job, but we don't know why. It's like all this stuff that they're trying left, right, and centre to try and reduce the amount of crime, and they've inadvertently hit the nail on the head without a clue of how to either continue that, or even, ramp it up and maybe eradicate crime. I know, wishful thinking. Eradicate crime completely. Now, the really interesting stats, now bearing in mind the other years here, so we've got 2012 right up to 2021. Obviously, we are only halfway through, or not even halfway through, are we? We're 5 months through the through the year so far. So basically, you've got to times everything by 2 to give a relative comparison. But you can instantly see that not only is there, and this is all homicide, so it's not about violence or crime. This is specifically homicide, and they break it down into guns for red for guns, blue for knives, and grey for other. I am quite intrigued what that other is made up from, but you can instantly see, if I hover over these stats, you can see that in 2021, the complete year, there were 83 homicides in London alone due to knives. If you go to this year, 17. We're only halfway through, and it's an absolute fraction. Something dramatic has happened, and the first thing, Connors and I were talking about this in the office, the first thing you're going to jump to is COVID, right? Well, for all intents and purposes, we're out of that now. That's not, even the firearms licensing departments are open, so we must be out of it by now. So you can see the COVID effect. I mean, it's quite a scary graph, and in some ways, a little bit of silver lining for COVID, because it based on the statistics, it's probably saved around 50 people per year through 2020 and 2021, because we were going to be up there in the 175s based on this trajectory. So you can see this COVID dip. This is not COVID. Like, what has happened over the last, say, 6 to 9 months to cause not even a slight, but a dramatic fall? Now, okay, we're just coming into summer. There's going to be more people out. There's going to be longer evenings and a lot more time in the evenings to get up to mischief whilst it's still light. So are things going to be made up for throughout the rest of the year? But of course, the main thing that we're going to be looking at is no deaths by guns. Now, it's not like gun deaths in London are really that prolific. You can see that through the previous years, it's averaging roughly about 1 per month. So based on that average, we should be 5 in by now, maybe even 6. So, if we had had 2 or 4, you could sort of say that was a slight bit, but to have none, there is definitely something going on. But the main point I think I want to make with this is there have been no new laws introduced. The only real change that we've had recently within our laws, legislations, or more importantly, guidance, is the suitability guidance for firearms licensing departments, the criteria that they use to assess somebody's suitability to whether they own a gun. Now, that's the only thing that has changed, and I'm going to go out there pretty quickly and say that is going to have no correlation on these sorts of murders and this sort of crime. And it says here right in the article, to sort of support that, gun crime in London is absolutely linked to gangs and drugs, and the vast majority of victims and suspects are linked to that world. And this isn't just the one time that they sort of touch on it. There are a number of quotes within this article that quite clearly state that, you know, the crime is linked to criminals. Okay, I just went a bit full NCA there, but it is the gang members, it's the drug runners, the county line gangs that are predominantly behind these. Those are not the sort of people that are going to go anywhere near the suitability guidance for a firearm certificate or shotgun certificate. They're not going to go anywhere near the application or even the website. These are people getting either converted blank firers or guns that are being smuggled in from overseas. Again, the NCA, they quoted, I think it was the Netherlands that was the largest supplier of illegal handguns coming into the UK, because they come through from Eastern Europe, get smuggled across Europe, end up in the busy ports of the Netherlands, and then get smuggled over here. So that's really their main supply. So there's been no new laws, and yet we've had a sudden reduction in gun deaths or even gun crimes, because it doesn't just say whilst they've only put that statistics for those years for gun homicides, it says on the article as well that it is not just deaths that have plummeted. So far this year, police have detected 27 shootings in the capital, barely one a week. In 2010 to 2011, there were 499. So again, we are massively apart from the trend or from previous statistics. These are big shifts, and for there to have not been any significant legislation brought in, and of course I'm sort of going along the line there that, you know, legislation has an effect. Well, I think this is a prime example that it's nothing to do with the legislation, or the legislation is effective up until a certain point, and then you get to a point where there is no effect, or there is certain crime that literally just cannot be legislated against. Of course, as I always say, I'm a huge supporter of our firearms licensing system. I think it gives the lawful firearms owners a big buffer between, you know, criminality and legality. And because we have such a stringent process, we can stand behind it and go, hang on a minute, they didn't go through that process, nothing to do with us. Of course, it doesn't always work, but it gives us some level of argument. So what has changed? Well, the article goes on mainly about, I think, the tactics of policing and the use of intelligence, the expedite of forensics. So they are prosecuting a lot of people, and they were saying one of the cultures within, you know, drug gangs and gangs in general is that if somebody is under investigation, if somebody gets caught with something, then suddenly there's a massive fight between gangs and territories, and it just ends up in bedlam. And what it's suggesting is, because they are expediting the prosecution because of new technologies, increased efficiencies, and also acting quicker on intelligence, they're preventing these territory wars where, again, this article suggests that these are the main, you know, protagonists for the homicides from guns and even the homicides from knives. So I think this is something that we should definitely remember. When somebody says, oh, you know, only legislation will prevent gun crime, only legislation will prevent deaths by guns, well, quote this period: no new legislation, and yet a dramatic shift in gun crime and dramatic shift in gun homicides and shootings within our capital. And I know a lot of you were thinking as well, oh, it's just going to have shifted over to knife crime. Everything seems to have dropped. So once again, I think this is a nice point. It's not about the weapon itself. It's not whether it's a gun or it's a knife. It's not necessarily about the legislation. At the end of the day, these are criminal gangs. They are in the business of being criminals. They are smuggling guns. They're smuggling drugs. You know, being caught with a kilo of cocaine or and a loaded firearm, it's not going to really make a huge difference to their sentence. They're going to be going away for a very, very long time. They don't listen to the laws. So there has been something else, I think, more within the policing and use of intelligence rather than the cast iron use of further legislation. So can we have our handguns back yet? Like, you know, they brought in major legislation in 1997 banning all sporting use of handguns, and we saw gun crime increase. We saw, violence with handguns increase. We saw homicides with handguns increase. And still today, handguns make up the single largest proportion of firearm offences. So can we... Obviously, they've sort of cracked something. They must be, credit where credit's due. Something is being done right to have this massive effect. So can the people that abide by the laws, the people that can use guns responsibly without shooting at each other, can we have some back, please? That would be quite nice. But anyway, let me know. I'm really intrigued. I think they're going to be looking at this for a very long time. They've obviously got a golden nugget somewhere. Perhaps it is just an absolute fluke. But if there is something that is going on to cause this sort of effect, then maybe if they can extrapolate why, it could be rolled into further police training and further police tactics. Connors, actually, as a side, did make a very interesting point. Perhaps they're not recording the crimes. I think his first hypothesis was, are they just putting everything down as COVID deaths now? Stabbed by a knife, but he had COVID. He died of COVID. Shot in the head with a gun. He's got COVID. He died of COVID. But no, again, we would have seen that in 2020 or 2021. But it's also a very good point about, are they actually out there recording crime? Is it a case of potentially they're not doing, they're not doing a good job. They're quite the reverse. They're overstretched, underfunded. They're not able to actually be out there recording when there's a shooting, not necessarily not recording when there's a homicide, because otherwise we'd just have like dead bodies laid across the street everywhere. But perhaps there's a big, I don't know how you could hide a stabbing or hide a shooting, like especially when the person dies. So I don't know, there's probably a mixture of factors, but it'd be very interesting to see if they do make public and extrapolate what has been done and what has been done correctly, and hopefully they twig that finally it's not about banning things, it's not about restricting lawful shooters anymore. It's more about crime prevention rather than legislation. But yeah, let me know what you think is going on there. Let me know what you can hypothesize. And again, don't be scared to get involved. If you've got any questions, you want to bring anything up, a topic to discuss, then please use that chat box below. And also, don't forget to hit that like button. We've got like 90 people here. Hello, thanks for joining. All you regulars and any new people, hit that subscribe button. And everyone, hit that like button. It does make a huge difference. Kyle, guns and crime are illegal. Of course they are. That's why crims are going to crim. What about knife crime? We've covered all that. The answer is no, 100, lots of shootings. Lots of shooting. Well, I was waiting for somebody to come out with, okay, perhaps they're not dying, but maybe criminals have just got worse aim now. But again, shootings entirely has fallen. The other, actually, I'm remembering like sort of the discussion that I was having with Connors. The other thing that might have been a big factor is Brexit. If one of the main sources of illegal firearms are coming from Europe, are coming from the Netherlands, with Brexit, with tougher passport control, well, yeah, they're not going to be going through passport control with an illegal firearm, but potentially heightened border control, again, dinghies coming in from Calais, don't know. You would hope that with Brexit and with that separation from the EU as an entity, there would be, higher alert at border force. There would be more stringent checks at border force of people coming in and out through whatever means. Perhaps that's had a big impact. Perhaps they are catching more guns, finding more guns, and preventing more guns, illegal firearms, from coming into the country as well. That could have, but that could be a small part. That could be a big part. Who knows? Convoy exceptional. You'll be surprised how many firearm offences don't make it to the news. Again, that's what we were talking about in terms of the number of shootings recorded being, reducing dramatically. Again, perhaps there's not the police out there being able to record it. Perhaps they're not being recorded or reported at all. Maybe in the areas that they happen, people have got used to it and just have given up hope. Urban Space Monkey. Can't hang around at work, but guess who's got their first level 1 Action Air experience next week? Awesome. Well, good luck. I hope you enjoy it. Action Air is a fantastic way into the world of IPSC and a fantastic standalone sport as it is. But yeah, I would be interested to know where you're shooting, because if it's at XPSC, Paul is significantly bullying me to attend that, so I may even join you guys for that. I don't know if this is official or not, so maybe I won't say anything. But anyway, there's a Action Air World shoot within the horizon. I'm hoping to be able to prove myself and be able to get on the standard team for Action Air, and I do need to do a little bit more practice, turn up to club nights, doing some practice, and also turn up to more matches. I am signed up for, can't remember exactly when it is, the exact date, but there is a level 3 Action Air being held quite close to me. So we're going to be heading to that and shooting that as well. So it'd be good to get another level 3 Action Air under my belt. But yeah, all the best. I hope you enjoy it, Urban Space Monkey. Space Monkey, please do let me know how you get on, and if I happen to be there as well, then you can tell me in person. Brian Solomon, good evening. Any more news on a 10-year FAC? So this was a topic. There was a week or two where there was a lot going on around consultations and questionnaires around the FACs. So the main focus was the cost. Pretty certain that there's going to be a fee increase for firearm and shotgun certificate applications, renewals, variations, stuff like that. But within that, there was also big talk about a 10-year FAC. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, at the moment, a firearm certificate or a shotgun certificate, what you need to be able to, as a civilian, own a firearm here within the UK, currently they are renewed every 5 years. And with the police, the Home Office, and other organisations saying what a draw the firearms licensing system is, both on time from the police, but it all comes down to money at the end of the day, a huge monetary draw on their resources. They are looking at doubling the period that a firearm and or shotgun certificate is valid for, up to 10 years, which in theory would halve the workload of the police. And I think this would be a good trade-off if they end up increasing. At the moment, what is it, like £90 for a coterminous, both a shotgun and firearm certificate together. If they over doubled it, let's say they rounded it up to £200 or £200, for those of you that don't know what quid is. I'm very conscious after spending a few weeks in America how we have a lot of idiolect, and there's a lot of things that don't translate very well or make Americans laugh, like saying cheers. Like seriously, the amount of giggles that was had by us saying cheers to people. I just can't help it. We're British, all right? But yeah, going doubling to £200, but having a 10-year certificate, that's pretty much the same. Whether you're spending £90 every, well, it's not £90, renewal is actually cheaper, but it's going to make it much more stomachable if they increase the fee but stretch it out to 10 years. And really, the police are going to win all round on that one in terms of their resources, because they're going to get more money. They have to do the same amount of work for each person, well, no, they're going to get more. They're going to get double the money, let's say. Let's pick a number out of the sky. They're going to get more money for the same amount of work, but they only have to do it every 10 years. So it should massively streamline the firearms licensing department. I have my own reservations about a 10-year certificate. I think both in the practical sense of a lot can happen in 10 years, as a lot can happen in 5 years, a lot can happen in a year, and a lot can happen in a week, right? So, you know, where do you draw the line? But I can bet your bottom dollar as well in terms of this, be careful what you wish for. We get a 10-year certificate, there is going to be a hell of a lot more regular monitoring. If the firearms licensing department have free time on their hand, you know they're going to use it. So you look at what's happening up and down the country with these, you know, requests to voluntarily surrender guns, these seizures, these revocations, based on things that they've dug up from certificate holders' pasts. You've got to think to yourself, well, is that going to then continue? If they've got more time to really look in and scrutinize everything, you know, of course, if there is something genuinely concerning, then they should take action or certainly investigate a little bit further. But could they have a bit too much time on their hand and actually start making issues out of things that aren't actually issues? You know, things like, there was the example where somebody had I think a complaint made against them by their ex-partner 5 or 10 years ago, and that was brought up to suddenly revocate or revoke their certificates. And it's like, you know, closing the gate after the horse is bolted, and it's like, if the guy's had his certificates for 5-10 years now, there's been no further issues, but like, why are you taking them? All that sort of thing. Or there was last week, there was the gun dog trainer who I think he had some medical issues, physical medical issues, basically was put on a restricted certificate basically for a year, and then he had to almost go through a renewal process again to make sure that nothing had changed, that he was still suitable and everything was good. And then a number of years later, to bring to present day, they've brought up this physical health issue, which is actually, I think he was saying, is less of an issue now than it was back then. There have been no issues over the years that he's owned it. He really does require the firearms for his income and his job, and they've just flicked the switch and taken it away. A very interesting video. I would go and find that one on Field Sports Britain, because the guy puts up, in the legal sense, puts up a really good fight against the officers when they first come. I mean, he's basically like, do you have a warrant? Do you have a warrant? No. Then you're not coming in. And, you know, they go away, get a warrant, get the wrong warrant, and he unfortunately then does sort of crumble and let them in. But yeah, in terms of your original question, Brian, you know how I like to take the long way round to an answer. No news at the moment about 10 years as far as I'm aware. As soon as there is any update, of course, I will be covering that on the stream or a dedicated videos. Kyle, any more updates for your licenses, being your recent home interview well? I guess went well. Again, don't take my word for that. That was just my general feeling of it. I could be surprised. But in terms of any updates, no, there are no updates to my own certificate at the moment. I was told by my FEO that, you know, firearm inquiry officer. So for those of you that don't know, that's been out of the loop maybe, I had my interview for the grant of a firearm and shotgun certificate last week. I felt it went well. I've been waiting a long time for that interview, and now I've been told by the firearm inquiry officer, the person that comes out and interviews you and puts together a report, which then goes to the firearms licensing management team. It is sat in that pile now. I guess they have a management meeting once a month. That's certainly the impression that he gave me. He said it will depend on if there's anything higher or lower priority that month that they need to discuss, but as soon as it comes on the agenda, they will be discussing it, and they will either make a decision within that management meeting, or it will get referred to more senior police if they want a more senior decision on things. And he said that it will either be within the next month or 2 months. That's what I'm sort of holding out for. So I'm not going to start chasing. I'm not going to start counting down the days. I've been told it could be a month or 2 months. I'm going to budget on 2 months. I would like to hear and know as soon as possible, but of course, let's see how long it takes. After maybe 6-8 weeks, I might drop him an email, I might drop him a phone call and just see, or even call or email firearms licensing department, just to see if there's any hang-ups, just to see if there's anything that I can help expedite it in a way. Of course, working full-time in the firearms industry, a firearm certificate and shotgun certificate would be very, very useful. So do want it as soon as possible so we can crack on and get on with some things that have been planned for a very long time. Neil, congratulations. News is my ticket has been upgraded to open. So again, if people don't know, within the UK, firearms certificates can be open or closed. A closed certificate means that you are effectively restricted where you can shoot it. You can basically only shoot it on approved ranges or approved land, so land that has been signed off by the police to say that it's safe to shoot. Usually your first firearm certificate, your first time application, your certificate will be closed. After you've got a lot of experience, you've built a rapport and trust with the firearms licensing department, and they know that you are more than capable of deciding whether somewhere is safe or not, they will put you onto an open ticket. That means you are then able to shoot anywhere you want, and it's up to you to decide whether it's safe to do so. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't give you carte blanche. So Neil, I'm sure you know this already, you can't just go, all right, I'm going to just go outside my house and start plinking some cans in the road. It doesn't work like that. If you make the wrong decision in terms of, if you feel that something is, somewhere is safe to shoot or appropriate to shoot, and the police disagree with you on that, not only will you lose that open ability on your firearm certificate, but you will most likely lose your certificate. But what it's incredibly useful for is the likes of pest controllers. So, people that shoot foxes in residential gardens, you need to have an open ticket or an open certificate, because the police are never going to come around somebody's garden, depending on the size of your garden, and say, yes, that's okay to shoot in. However, an open certificate holder can make that decision, and at the end of the day, as long as that bullet ends up going somewhere safe, as long as no one's disturbed or no one even knows it's going on, but ultimately that it's safe, it doesn't really matter. So that's why you get a lot of people using moderators or suppressors, basically sniping foxes from windows when there's a problem. Not just foxes, other vermin and pests as well. So yeah, it gives you a lot of flexibility. Fun fact, all RFDs, so registered firearms dealers, it's the certificate or license you need to be able to buy and sell guns commercially, or even make guns here within the UK. All registered firearms dealership certificates or registered firearms dealers are open shooters. Right? No, I don't mean like box fed. Basically, an RFD can decide whether somewhere's safe. They have the same sort of flexibility as an open firearm certificate, so it gives them a lot more flexibility of being able to use bullet traps, bullet catches, and shoot in places that maybe not normally not necessarily not normally safe, but normally expected. So for testing and things like that, it gives a lot more, and like just a normal field, because if you imagine having to get things approved by the police, can take a little bit of time. So an RFD can go, look, I've got this bit of land, I'm going to use that for my testing. I know there's a good backstop, I know what's beyond it. I'm happy to test this gun here. Tony Victor, you mean you spent a month in the US and didn't come back at least with one container of ammo? Yeah, mainly because it's an absolute ball ache bringing it back, and it's incredibly heavy. We almost did bring, well, it wasn't going to be us. We were going to ask somebody else who has the import licenses and permits that was out there to bring back some of the Callaway ballistics. Of course, we had a load of 9mm and a load of 223. 223 we don't shoot a lot here in the UK, but 9mm Connors is shooting a lot of 9mm revolver, so we wanted to be able to bring that colourway ballistics ammo back, but unfortunately it wasn't going to work, so that's been left out there in the US. Yeah, I mean, we are going to get on to ammo. Perhaps that's a nice segue, but I might come back and clear some more other questions. But yeah, we didn't bring any ammo back, but I did bring a shit ton of jerky. I'm not going to get it all out, mainly because I wouldn't be able to hold it all up. But yeah, I love my dried meats, biltong or jerky, and there's a lot of jerky that you can't get here that you can get out there, including she's not vegan, but my partner is vegetarian, and she still really likes jerky and biltong, and it does frustrate her to a certain point that when I get a nice big bag of juicy biltong, she can't have any, or even jerky. But I found some vegan jerky. It was like Beyond Meat stuff, and it does taste pretty good, actually. I'm not going to switch, but it was pretty good. But you cannot get it for love nor money here within the UK. They should legalise guns again. My uncle had guns years ago when you could. He went to a shooting range and enjoyed it. Not everyone is a wannabe gangster drug dealer. Well, just to clarify on that, you say they should legalise guns again. I'm assuming you mean specifically handguns or even full-bore semi-automatic rifles, because guns are not inherently banned here within the UK. There is quite a lot that we can own, from straight pull ARs to 2 ARs, semi-autos, shotguns, rifles, and all of that. I'm surprised they haven't said it's because of their gun-grabbing policies in certain areas. Yes, I wouldn't put it past them, but I don't know how seizing a load of guns in Plymouth has any correlation to the crime or murder rate in London. Although, again, they've made stranger connections. Truth Junkie plinking cans with a 9mm in the road. Yeah, don't laugh. I've had that before. It was out in the US. I was out there for work, and one of the guys was like, I wish I'd have known that you were a shooter. I would have brought my AR in. And I'm like, but I didn't know there was a range nearby. And he's like, range? There's public land right there. What? And literally, as long as you're on public land in the US, you can shoot where you like, be that by the side of the road or wherever. So yeah, that might be a bit of a laughable situation here within the UK, but out in the US, not so much. Rob Holmes, must be the ammo shortage. Yes, I don't think the drug gangs and the criminal entities around London are getting their ammunition through legitimate means, and I don't think the surge in prices of ammunition here within the UK, or even the shortage of some lines of ammunition, is going to have any effect. But yeah, you never know. On that point, that is going to be the sort of next topic to talk about. Following on from, I think it was a stream prior to going away, about this shortage. We'd already started getting whispers and murmurs of there was going to be a shortage, there's going to be supply issues, there was going to be potentially, as soon as there's a supply issue, the price skyrockets. And that's actually been covered by the Sunday Telegraph. And unfortunately, it doesn't like the fact that I've got this window minimized, or there we go. I can bring that up. So this, it's not online. It's actually, it was in the physical print. But prices of sporting rifle ammunition have shot up as a combination of fears over a crackdown on US gun laws and Russia's war on Ukraine have caused demand to skyrocket. Now, there's a few things now. Gareth Caulfield, he is one of us. Somebody I know fairly well, and writes a lot of shooting articles. There are a couple of things that I'm going to point out, though. Using the NRA's price of ammunition as a measure across the country, I think is a little bit flawed. Unless things have dramatically changed, the NRA was always consistently like 10-20% more expensive for their ammunition than anywhere else. Specifically, Minimag. The NRA were by far the first shop, if you want to call them a shop, or range that started charging over £100 for a box of Minimag. I remember very early on when I started shooting, you could get Minimag for like £65, £75, £1,000, and the NRA were like at 90 to 100 quid. So yeah, the NRA's prices, yeah, I'll take that with a pinch of salt, because rose by an average of 25%. Again, that just could be the NRA just gouging the eyes out of their shooters. Something that is going to have a significant effect on the NRA are the reports that civilian triple G ammunition was seized or taken or given to the MOD for the war effort in Ukraine. So it could be a case of that they have a very, very limited supply, and things like 308 triple G, they're gonna ration by putting the price up, right? If there's literally only a limited supply, they're not getting any more because it's all being sent out to Ukraine, they're going to put the price up in a way to try and stem the flow and make it last a little bit longer. So of course Ukraine is having effect. I think that's 100% undeniable. It's taking ammunition away, or certainly diverting ammunition away to not the civilian market, not the sporting market. They go on obviously to talk about the US. Now this, it's always a hard one to gauge any effects in the US. Of course, when Obama got in, whenever there are any new laws passed, there is a spike in sales in guns and ammunition over the states, especially when you're going from a Republican to a Democrat. The sale of guns and ammunition absolutely soars because people are stockpiling. They don't think they're ever going to get it again. To quote somebody out on the American trip, there are guys with hundreds of thousands of rounds sat in their garage just waiting. Waiting for what? I don't know, but waiting patiently, I guess. So yeah, this whole political thing, you would think, well, hang on a minute, Biden's been in there quite a long time now. It's Biden and it's the Democrats. They're going after gun laws. They're going after guns. That's sort of their modus operandi. But nothing recent that would have caused a sudden peak. However, something that I talk about quite a lot in terms of the stemmed flow of effect from the US, it usually takes a number of months for us to feel any effect here, for a number of reasons. You can't just freely go out and buy a gun. You have to have a free slot on a firearm certificate. Okay, shotgun, you can technically go and do that, but if people want to panic buy in the UK, well, if you don't have any free slots, then you're going for a variation. That's going to can take 3-6 months sometimes, especially longer if the firearms departments are closed. And so you can't just go out and buy as many guns as you want. There's definitely a stem of flow there. And then ammunition, we are restricted by how much ammunition we can buy or store. So people can't go out and panic buy ammunition here in the UK because they're limited on what they can store. So there's always this buffered effect. It's always this delayed effect that we end up getting, because if there is any reaction here in the UK, and when I say panic buy, and I don't mean, for the end of the world or Armageddon or civil unrest. I mean, as a serious sport shooter, as somebody that is competing regularly, you want to make sure that you can continue your sport. So you will panic buy and stock up on all your match ammunition that you're then going to go and hopefully make use of if the supply dries up. And there's a very good example of people with foresight of how there could be an effect within the practical shooting area. But yeah, We may now be seeing obviously the more instant effect of Ukraine, but maybe a delayed effect of what has been going on in America over the past year, maybe even 2 years. Perhaps it's finally now reached us, and that's why they're talking about this, the effect that Joe Biden has had. In terms of the shortages that I'm aware of, well, the one major one for 2.2 ammunition is Ely, and this is Ely ammunition. This is 2.2 long rifle. They have temporarily suspended the line of some of their sport ammunition. So, for those of you that don't know, Ely obviously specializes normally in Olympic disciplines, very high precision, rounds for single shot bolt action 2.2s. Sometimes some semi-auto pistols. But they made this switch over to the practical market, the action sports market, and started doing ammunition that was focused on semi-automatics, practical, speed stills, mini rifles, stuff like that. Well, they've been fairly successful in that. There's been quite a good take-up of people using Ely ammo for Ely ammunition for mini rifle and speed stills, and I think it's really a fruits of their labour, because they've been so supportive in the likes of speed stills. I don't think we would have the speed still competitions we have without Ely ammunition really funding it, really pushing it and advertising it. But what's happened is they've looked at it, they've got a shortage either of raw materials or of staff, or a combined shortage, and they've had to slimline their production line. Now, Ely ammunition is known predominantly for their Olympic discipline ammunition, so that is always going to be their main focus. If they have to drop something, they're going to drop the new kid on the block. They're going to drop the sports ammunition, the semi-auto ammunition. Now, thankfully, we sort of saw this coming. Now, I'm not saying we are switching over to it, but we're certainly looking. Connors is looking at switching from Minimag, which is our go-to competition ammunition, to Ely. Funnily enough, one of the main reasons he wanted to do that was supply and cost, and because CCI does regularly can become hard to get hold of because it's coming from America. Lol. Now we've got apps. The Ely factory has shut down that whole entire line. So that's a bit funny, really, if you can't laugh at it. And yeah, so that aside, we were looking at switching. Now, luckily, there was a little bit of whispers and talk about them doing this, so we were able to get an order in. So we're certainly well stocked for competition ammunition going forward for this season. We should see it through. We might have to stick to Ely ammunition, but I don't know. Again, we're going to try it out. We bought, I think it was like one of their the minimum order. I think it's like 5,000 rounds. Maybe it's 10. Don't know. It's a big brick, whatever the bricks are. But yeah, of course we need to test it. I don't know. I may insist that I stay on CCI Minimag, but we will see how it goes, how the testings go. At the end of the day, if it doesn't offer anything in terms of a performance gain, it doesn't matter how easy it is to get hold of, how cheap it is. We want to be using the best ammunition out there for the best result. I'm not saying that Ely isn't, just saying we need to test that and try that out first before really committing to it. But yeah, we were able to get some of the last batches. If you are, and this is the issue that it's going to cause for competitive shooters, if you are a competitive shooter that was relying on the semi-auto ammunitions from Ely and you haven't got good stock, well, you might be forced to switch to something that you've never used, never tested, and literally the only 2.2 you can get your hands on. So that's a supply issue. That's a supply shortage, certainly. And also, it's well known that within the cartridge manufacturers, within the shotgun cartridges, there are big issues going on there. A lot of the components come from Europe. A lot of the raw materials come from areas around Ukraine. So there is a stem of supply issues there. And of course, if they don't have the raw materials, they can't make the final product. So there's less shotgun ammunition. Again, once you have a slowdown in supply, the price is going to go up. So we're getting hit left, right, and centre at the moment. Poor supply. The demand isn't any higher, apart from all the stuff that wants to get sent out to Ukraine. I don't know if they're necessarily concerned that much about shotgun cartridges, but there is supply issues. We're getting hit by increased prices, and you also can't buy it even when it is, even if you're prepared to pay for those prices, you can't get hold of it. Tone, let's see what you guys are saying. Know if FLDs have time on their hands, some of them will be made redundant for even more savings. Yeah, I suppose. But then, in terms of civil service, if they've got budget, they use it. So if they've got a staffing budget, they continue to use it. They will only start sacking people if their budgets are decreased. And certainly if they increase the fee, if they increase the amount that they are charging people for these certificates and for the applications of variations, I can't see them increasing the amount they charge whilst also the firearms licensing department's budgets being decreased. Actually, with stuff that's happened with Plymouth, I can only see their budgets being increased. So, there's been this big cry that they're under-resourced, i.e. they haven't got enough money. I don't see them reducing that even further. I think that's going to be potentially only one of the counters or small mitigating factors in the failings that happened at within the Devon and Cornwall firearms licensing, is that they're going to play the we're underfunded, we're understaffed. Now, I would just say, well, then you'd stop giving out applications. You slow down the process, which is what I think a lot of other firearms licensing departments have done. Instead of potentially overlooking things or rushing things out to maintain a swift department, you slow things right down and make sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted. But yeah, there's been all this calls and all this, sort of semi finger pointing from Devon and Cornwall saying, well, if you gave us more money, we could do a better job. I think the last thing the Home Office or the police in general are going to do is exacerbate that even further by reducing the funding. Because if they reduce the funding further, and there's another shooting under a similar circumstances of a multitude of failings of a firearms licensing department, and they play the we're underfunded and you cut our funding even more card, it's really not going to look good for the government or look good for the Home Office. So I still think if we go to 10-year certificates, if they increase the price, there is going to be FEOs sat there twiddling thumbs. Well, they won't be twiddling thumbs. They will be put to work. They will be doing more continuous monitoring of certificate holders. Starting to sound a little bit Big Brother-esque. But you can argue with that exact example of Plymouth, if there was continuous monitoring of him, would Plymouth have happened? So, you can sort of look at it from both ways. Interestingly, this was a common, obviously we talked about lots of different things, not all morbid and negatives, and positive things about, the UK shooting scene and versus the US while we're in the US. But I don't think there was a single person we spoke to out there that was aware of Plymouth. I don't mean they'd never heard of Plymouth itself, but they weren't. We told them about it. We kept, how's it over the pond with you guys? And we're saying, well, it's a bit touch and go at some points. We had this shooting, and they're like, what? You had a shooting? We're like, yeah, it was a pretty big deal here. And they're going, nope. Now, some of them said, well, you in the best possible way. They're like, well, your shootings don't really compare to our shootings, or we have more shootings to talk about. Not forgetting that America is a country of 300 million people and is vastly bigger than the UK, so of course they're going to have more, statistically speaking. I'm not getting into the argument. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting into that conversation. But yeah, they were like, no, we literally heard nothing. We knew nothing about what was going on. So we explained the situation. They were like, you know, what? Like, the people responsible for giving a yes or no on a certificate gave someone a certificate by any other measure that shouldn't have had one. We're like, yeah. These guys, and you think licensing works? We're like, wow, you've got a point there, right? I mean, it was just interesting to see how instantly they switched it. You know, it's like, oh, well, you know, get rid of your certificates, get rid of your licensing system. It obviously doesn't work. And we're like, okay, to be fair, that, well, you know, there were failings with Dunblane and Hungerford and even Carlisle, but we won't get into that. It doesn't happen that regularly, so I don't know if you can necessarily say that. But yeah, it was just interesting how, I know it's a stereotype about Americans being quite bubbled, but it didn't. The interesting thing that I found, it didn't seem out of choice. There were certain things in terms of world news or even British news, or, you know, British pop culture or whatever, that a lot of the Americans that we're talking to were very clued up on, were very up to date on. But the Plymouth shooting, that was it. That was my hypothesis on it. I was like, well, it doesn't fit the narrative, does it? A shooting in England being broadcast to America does not fit the anti-gun narrative out there, because, you know, the UK, strictest gun laws in the world, shooting. You know, and you know, if they started blurting that all over the media, that it would be used, you know, the pro-gun people would just be like, nope, even there they have shootings, you know, and what, you want to do it here as well? So I think that was maybe one of the explanation of why it maybe wasn't broadcast that much, whereas over here it's very much usually used the opposite way. More shooting, more legislation. Out there, I think it, you know, it probably would actually help the pro-gun side of things, not necessarily the anti-gun side of things. Yeah, but yeah, very interesting. They bubbled, but a lot of people, I've got the feeling, not by choice. Like, literally, they, you know, whatever news sites they use, whatever outlets they use, just, it wasn't on there. They just had no idea that the Plymouth shooting had taken place. Truth Junkie, if they say no, you can appeal, right? Yes, so if your firearm certificate application is rejected, or even if you have your firearm certificates revoked, you have the right to appeal. Everyone does. This is a standard thing. There is a standard process. The issue, and why one of the main things that I was so pissed off with Basque and ended up cancelling my membership, was because it's incredibly expensive. My previous appeal, I think it was, I think the police's legal fees on their own was 3,500-4,000, around that. That was literally just for the police's side of costs, right? Did that include court costs? No, I don't think it includes court costs, because it's an appeal. Maybe, can't remember. Anyway, it was like 3,000 or 4,000. And that wasn't including my legal team. I had a solicitor and a barrister. I'd spent many weeks working with the solicitor and also had a barrister for a day in court. That's not a cheap sentence right there. So I think I estimated that if I didn't have insurance, the total probably would have been a good £6,000 to £8,000, and that was 5-6 years ago. So, you know, inflation, wages increasing, you're probably not going to be, I wouldn't imagine you're going to get much change out of £10,000. That, of course, is if you are unsuccessful. Of course, if you are successful in your appeal, you don't get lumbered with the police's cost, and I think you might be able to claim costs back from the police for your legal team. Certainly for the day costs in court, maybe not for the run up, the preparation running up to that. But anyway, it's still expensive. Even if you win, there's going to be a lot of cost. So Basque removing the legal expenses insurance from their membership basically left Basque's members sitting ducks. Not everyone, and this is what we're seeing at the moment with these requests to voluntarily surrender firearms and these revocations that are going up and down the country. You know, people that have been lifelong Basque members that weren't aware that the insurance isn't there anymore have gone, well, shit, I don't have the money to combat this. Like, you know, I don't even have the money to fund this if I win, never mind if I lose. So there are people it is going unchallenged. And this is why I say all the time, it is imperative that you have some sort of legal expenses insurance, because you don't want to be put in that situation. You don't want to be put in that position where you want to appeal something, but you can't, purely based on finances. So yes, you do have the right to appeal. We will have to see what happens. Oh my, I go out plinking in the yard, just make sure my backstop is clear. Yes, I don't think I've got a picture of it, and I don't think I'd put it up anyway because it is somebody's private property, but the person that holds all of the guns out in America, we turned up and it was quite an open, large plot of land that he was based on, and we saw this sort of mound in the distance, and we're like, it almost looked like a motocross jump. And we're like, what's that? He goes, that's my backstop. Okay, you just stand out in your... And, you know, you can see probably about 5 or 6 other properties at various distances. You're like, you just stand out here in your back garden, which is completely open. Like, there were no fences off to the road. You could see all the roads, you know, passing cars, passing cyclists. America doesn't have that many cyclists, so... But anyway, just passing people. He's like, yeah, it's my back garden. If I want to shoot in it, I'll shoot in it. So we're like, fucking A. So yeah, very different approach out there. Neil, always safe. Good to hear. Always be safe. You guys have been busy. Daniel's been busy. Jesus Christ, what did someone do? What did someone say? Vegan jerky. Yes. Abomination. Oh my god. Like, we could talk about gun crime in London. We can talk about the ammo shortage and price increases, but you guys lose your shit over the mention of vegan jerky. I'm tempted to just go and get some just to enrage you. No, I don't have any. Actually, it's Holly that's got it all. I mean, I only tried a bit, right? And let's just say you could either eat vegan jerky for the rest of your life or no jerky. I mean, yeah, I'd still choose the vegan jerky. I like jerky too much for that. But yeah, you guys get so vegan. Are you fucking joking? Oh, gun crime. There's been no murders in London from guns. Oh, okay, whatever. Vegan jerky. I know. Oh, I wish I could have got more. Because anybody that comes to the stand tomorrow, I could just have a bowl of vegan jerky there. Just offer it out. You want some jerky? Wait until you're eating it. It's vegan. Oh, when Daniel says it's enough shit posting, you know you've shit posted to oblivion. I mean, Daniel's shit posterometer is so skewed, you know, like to even get a flicker of shit posting out of his meter, you're going too far. That's when you know. Domo, do you have a stock ticker with futures pricing that UK shooters follow so you can buy at the right time before the panic driven prices occur? Not really. I mean, my rule of thumb is that if any shit kicks off in America, if there's a big shooting, if, you know, a Democrat gets in as president, if a president starts talking about further legislation, that's the time to buy. Again, because we have a bit of delay, it's, you know, you can sort of see it coming. And I did. There was one year where the one year that I learnt this was unfortunately the year of Sandy Hook, because that really affected us over in the US, over in the UK as well. I know it seems a bit silly, but we couldn't get 1522s, which I really wanted at that time, and you could not get mini mag. So I learnt that way, and again, it was like a 6-month delay. It wasn't instantaneous. It just happened to coincide with when I got my certificate, and I wanted to buy the 1522, and I had to wait a number of months. I know, in the scheme of things, not that big of an issue, but yeah, from that moment I was like, oh, okay, that's what's happened, right? Something happens out in America, you know. I think at least you have 2 or 3 months to react to it. In terms of things like, I think you just have to be reactive to it, and I would say any serious competitor within the shooting world, you always make sure you've got ammo, right? As much as you're legally allowed to store. Okay, have a slight benefit that we have an armory at work. Connors has an RFD. We can effectively have as much ammunition up to the explosive limits as possible. So it's unlikely that I'm ever going to fill that shortage. But for your everyday shooter that's going in and buying 1,000 rounds in a shop, make sure you have up to your limits, because you never know when the taps are going to get closed off. And as a serious competitor, the ammunition you use makes a huge difference, not just in the performance of the ammunition, but how you understand that round, where that round shoots, how it shoots, and how it behaves. There's, in terms of how flat the trajectory is, and you get to know the round and what you can and can't do, and what your hold-offs and all of that are. Tony Victor, Mini Mag was my go-to for years. I switched to Ely Force and it's fine. I use Ely Action for mini rifle and LBP. Again, there's a lot of people that do exactly this, have done exactly the same, switching from CCI to Ely. I won't beat around the bush. There were known issues very early on with some of the batches and some of the ammunition, but that was a very long time ago. That's certainly what initially put me off of it, hearing about all of these issues. And now, at the end of the day, I think the top 5, at least the top 4 mini rifle shooters in the country, maybe even 5, certainly the majority of the top 10 use Ely ammunition. Granted, most of them are sponsored by Ely, so take that as you will, but these people are obviously having good competitive success with that ammunition. That is why I'm interested to try it out, and also Connors is interested. But again, if I don't feel it gives me an advantage, if I think there's it's not as good in any way, I won't use it. If you need I think you've sort of got the wrong end of the stick there, Tony, with the if you need continuous monitoring, that's not that it's possible, then you shouldn't be a certificate holder in the first place. I don't think it's a question of need to be monitored. I think you're very right. If you've been given that certificate, you've been given it with trust, and that you're not the sort of person that needs to be looked at continuously. But it's not about need. It's about if they have time on their hands, they will do it. Continuous monitoring, continuous makes it sound like they're going to be checking your social media, driving past your house every single day. Continuous doesn't necessarily mean daily or weekly or monthly. Or potentially, maybe switch the word to periodic monitoring, which they already do. Don't think about for 1 second that your FEO only goes on your social media at the point of application. They are going back, if they have time, they are going to go and check. Maybe it's not a case of you're not a suitable person, but maybe there was one thing on your application that they were like, yeah, we can overlook that. Actually, in the bigger picture, that doesn't make or break your application. but we want to see how that progresses, and we want to maybe check, you know, after a year or 6 months, whether anything further has happened or there's been any repetition of that particular issue. Because in isolation, not an issue, but if it happens again, if, you know, I'm not talking necessarily about criminality or convictions, but we might just want to just check back in at some point just to make sure that nothing's progressed there. That's the sort of monitoring that I believe that they're doing at the moment. And my main point is, if they have more time on their hands, they will just, you know, all right, let's go and like see what this guy's up to. You know, perhaps you put in for a variation. They're not required to do any sort of further checks or balances when you put in for a variation. But if the FEO is like, you know, he's just sat there and your variation comes up, he goes, okay, because I got some time, before I do that, let's go and have a look at his social media quickly. Spend 2 or 3 minutes having a look. That's the sort of thing that I could see happening more so if we move to a 10-year certificate. So I will remind you again, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the stream. Northern Shooting Show this weekend. I would highly recommend, if you've been before, you probably know why you should attend it. If you haven't been before, I know certainly if you live on the south coast, and I feel your pain there, it is a hell of a journey. For me, it is one of the highlights of the shooting calendars, certainly of the shooting shows. The 3 shows I look most forward to each year: the British Shooting Show, the Northern Shooting Show, and the Target Shooting Show, sort of for different reasons. The British Shooting Show I look forward to I look forward to because it's the first, and it also sort of kicks off the season. There's that bit of lull after Christmas. You know, that's usually in February time, and it's like the shooting season has now. I know, of course, there's game shooting going on over winter and all of that, but it really, for me, is the kickstart of the sporting season, the competitive season, and you know, so that's why I look forward to it. And it's usually, if I, you know, haven't seen people since before Christmas, that's when I get to see them in the year. You know, for the first time that year, so it's always nice to kickstart it. The Target Shooting Show I look forward to because it's focused on primarily the disciplines that I take part in. It's all of my favourite shops and favourite brands and sort of favourite people in the industry all in under one roof. And the Northern Shooting Show because it's like the best day out. Unfortunately, I get to enjoy it less and less each year because I tend to be doing more and more. You know, the past 1 or 2 shows been running around with a camera, and this time I'm going to be stuck on a stand. Hopefully I'll be able to sneak out and at least see some of it. But yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll get to go and shoot some guns on the clay line, maybe even try the NTSA challenge that they normally have, maybe even shoot some black powder. They always have some like incredible black powder shotguns there. There's always like axe throwing. They had axe throwing last time, but yeah, I highly recommend doing it. It is a brilliant day out, and it's an easy sell if you've got a wife and kids. And I assume all of you guys are men watching this. I think it's like 0.2% of the channel is watched by women, or maybe 2%. Maybe it was 2% of the channel. So for any female viewers, thank you, and I'm sorry that I assume you're all guys. Statistically speaking, that's correct, but anyway, but yeah, it's a great family day out. You can go with your partner. There we go, I'll get PC. You can go with your partner and your kids. There'll be plenty for the kids to do. It's certainly more game fairy than say the British Shooting Show or even the Target Shooting Show. So you know, they will have things. I know the British Shooting Show gets sort of slandered for doing it, but you will have things other than guns there. But there is also a lot of guns to go and see it. So if you are going there, if you're on the edge, just go and do it. You won't regret it. The weather seems to look good so far for this weekend. That's one of the downsides of the Northern, like one of the only downsides of the Northern Shooting Show really, is that it can be very weather dependent, but there's still a lot of indoor stuff. Magload, we will be on I think it's stand 25 in hall 1. So I think as you come into the, well, it depends which side you come in, but the main big entrance, we're on the, it's like two rows down on your right. You should see us. Look for the face banner, and if you're lucky, you'll be able to come and kiss the face, maybe even the real one too. So yeah, if you are about, don't be shy. Please do come and stop by, say hello. Whether you're a fan of Magload, you're a fan of English shooting, me, Connors, or whatever. If you want to come and say hi, please do so. If you have any questions about Magload products, then please, that's why we're there. We're more, there's no such thing as a stupid question, and we're very, very passionate about new shooters, beginner shooters. So if you're literally just getting into the sport and you don't know what to do and you want some advice, we never tell people what to do. We will advise you. We will give you a number of options and try and help you make your decision on which is the best one for you. So yeah, please do come and stop by. I'm hoping to be able to get some footage out of that weekend, but we will see how that one goes. On the subject of Magload, so this isn't just a world first, but this is also a world exclusive. There, apart from the few three photos that have been put out over the Magload social media page over the past few days, no one's actually seen this, or certainly seen this online. Again, if you were lucky enough, you might have seen it at the Target Shooting Show. Maybe as a comparison, I do have a Nexus Pro 8. There we go. It's always handy having that one on the shelf. So if you don't know, I help run Magload with Connors. We are focused on practical shooting accessories. All of the TR shooters that are watching the stream, don't be silly, there's no TR shooters that watch the stream, but all of the TR shooters are now making their quick exit. So one of the things that we specialize in are caddies, our shotgun caddies. So when you're doing practical shotgun, loading can make or break your match. We believe we make the best, by every metric it is the best loader in the world, and that is our Nexus Pro. So it holds the 2 cartridges like that. Really it's a quad loader, so I'll get 4. And I mean, there's probably like 90% of you right now watching this going, yeah, we know what this is. But for those of you that don't, you guys can have some patience. Don't forget to like. Yeah, so it is a quad loader. And what you do, you grab it, you've got them in your hand, and then you can put them into the gun, load them 2x2. Now, this it's the lightest loader, I think even the most compact loader out there. But there is one little downside, and this is very hard to get around with any loader, is once you've used it, it's sticking out. So I've seen it a few times, and it's unavoidable with this style of loader. Nobody, until we came along, managed to come up with the solution. So they're stuck out. Now, this can be inconvenient for a couple of reasons. You can snag it on things, you could catch it on stage furniture, and also if you go prone, and yes, you do go prone in shotgun. If you're not going prone in shotgun, you're not going to the right matches. And you can imagine when you're on prone, it's probably going to be very uncomfortable, maybe even unstable. Now, you don't have to worry about going prone on one of our loaders, even the Nexus Pro, because, well, lifetime warranty, and they're built like a tank. So, and even if you do happen to break something, we will replace it under warranty. So you don't have to worry about it, but we're always looking for the performance gains. And that's where this loader comes in. So as you can see, it immediately looks a little bit different. That's because it is the first collapsible loader. And probably more evident if I turn it to the side. So the one you can see there at the front is in its collapse form with no ammunition, and the one next to it is ready to go. And you can use it. It is a quad loader, but you can also pull out jewels on it. But basically, you grab it as you normally would, and it folds straight in. So it's more comfortable to go prone on. It's not going to snag, and it is incredibly compact. And being on our click system, of course, the Magload click, I can easily take it off, and you can see now, you know, granted I've got small hands, so I'm probably not doing this justice, but you can see how small. Well, actually, if I get the 8, you can see, I'll put it side by side, how much flatter that is, but also how compact. It's a very, very diddy tiny package. And again, it's something that we've been working on, and certainly Connors has been working on for a very long time. And of course, it's the world first. So we are launching it at the Northern Shooting Show on Saturday. So if you're interested in, again, seeing one yourself and getting your hands on it and trying it out, these very loaders will be on the stand, so you can come and play with it to your heart's content. But it is, you know, you're probably looking at it going, well, don't you normally have the full rigs? And yes, this isn't necessarily focused on loading for IPSC. It is more of a 3 gun design loader, sort of, let's say the next step of our V loader, which again was 3 gun focused. What this would probably be very good at is your initial load. So when you go to the line, you'll be filling your gun up with 9 cartridges. You could have a number of these on your belt, which, you know, the annoying thing about your initial loader is that you never really start a stage with it full, right? So it's sort of superfluous even before the beep. Having stuff like this where you can, you know, pull out your 4, load them up, and then it's just tucked away there on your belt. So obviously it can be mounted to a belt clip. I've got it here on the QRD, the Click QRD, but it can go on a Tech Lock, it can go on a Safari Land, but it is also supplied with Velcro, so you can use it with a Velcro belt. And we are, we're not. I think we're also really interested to see how people make use of it. We've got our ideas of where it's going to be really beneficial, which markets, which sort of competitions. But there are always products that come out, and people they will use them in ways that we didn't even think, or with techniques that we didn't even foresee being used. So yeah, it's interesting. Connors has an incredible mind sometimes. So yeah, the amount I remember last at the Target Shooting Show, the few of you that might have seen it, it was just when you go, and most people's faces, they're like, what the fuck did I just see? So yeah, come and hopefully it's going to be like the M1. It's like the Grand Ping, but I'm probably going to be hearing that snap quite a lot at the Northern Shooting Show. But yeah, if you're interested, please do come and stop on by. More than happy to show you, for you to have a play. Get that back on the belt. But yes, that is the new. I don't think I've actually said what it is. It's called the Reflex. We already have the Reflex Option 3 loader. This is the first proper Reflex caddy, so it would just be called the Reflex quad loader. It will be released on Saturday. It will be on it will be at the Northern Shooting Show. We will have stock there, but it will also be going live on the website either Friday evening or Saturday morning. So we just have to see sort of what works with that. The price, I did see a few people asking about the price. Of course, there's a lot going on there, right? There's a lot more components, a lot more assembly required. So they're going to be $79.99 each, or or there will be a discount for 2. So I think it will be $149.99 for 2. Obviously, comparing that to an 8, so the Nexus Pro 8 is $99.99. These are all UK including VAT prices. So for any international viewers watching that may be interested, take 20% off. But then you also have customs, so there's that. So add that 20% back on. So a Pro 8 is 100 quid. 2 reflexes giving you a total of 8 is 150. It is a step up in price. We have done absolutely everything to keep that price down. It's just the reality of the loader. These things I can build blindfolded now. They just zip together. Some of you have maybe even come down to the unit and I've built a loader while you wait. Probably know how quickly I can assemble a 12 and 28. The reflex is a lot more complex. There's a lot more going on there, a lot more fiddly. It's a lot more time, and at the end of the day, time is money. But we're hoping to progress from there with it. So this might be maybe a little bit of a taste of what may come in the future. But yeah, if you want what we are going to be calling the next generation of loader, because again, there's nothing else. The biggest step that we saw in the loader market was the spring adjustable. So the fact that you can put any length cartridge, you can put a slug, buck, or birdshot in there, and it auto adjusts. That was the last big step in sort of loader technology. And just, I don't know if I really demonstrated it, but it is still completely spring adjustable. It still has that, it folds out, and then the leg comes out. So you can still put whatever you want in there, pretty much. Any standard cartridge you're going to be using for IPSC, practical shotgun, or even 3-gun. And the other thing that I needed to note, there's so much. You can just come and talk to us, because I can't remember everything off the top of my head. It is still left and right hand reversible. It's a big thing for us. We hate it when people feel, we've seen it with other brands where they will only offer a left hand or a right hand, and once you've made that decision, you're stuck, unless you're going to go and spend another 400 or 500 quid on another loadout. With all of the magload loaders, certainly all of the current magload loaders, the Element, the Pro, and now the Reflex, they are all left, and also the V-loader. Can't forget the V-loader. They are all left to right changeable. So I think they are going to all come in right-hand configuration. Right hand is the most popular side for loading overall. And if you want it at left hand, you will be able to switch it over. It's literally I don't think you have to actually do anything with the bases. No, it is just the tops. You just literally have to, actually, I'm not going to do it now because live demonstrations never go well, certainly for me. But you can see here on the side, it's got the right, and then on the other side it also has the right, because it is configured as a right hand loader. Literally, you take these 2 screws off the back, switch them round, screw them back in, done. It's not as quick to reconfigure as the V-loader, but certainly quicker to reconfigure than, say, a Nexus Pro 28, Nexus Pro. Not that it's that particularly laborious or difficult to switch one of these guys around. You can do it. I could probably switch that. I could probably do it easily under 5 minutes. I should do like a race one time of how long it takes. But anyway, the Magload Reflex, world's first collapsible, most compact loader out there. Being launched at the Northern Shooting Show, and will be on magload.co.uk either Friday evening or Saturday morning. So if you want to pick one up, please do so. And it looks like you've all fallen asleep. William Tell, so glad you're going ambi, not just because it allows switching to suit, but many companies still totally ignore lefties, which is just bollocks in this day and age. So yeah, the thing is, there isn't, whether you use a left or right hand loader, it's not actually down to whether you're left or right handed, because there are two styles of loading. There is the over the shoulder, where you bring the gun up, and that is usually your strong hand. Well, for a right-handed person, it's your strong hand. Then there's the flick it underneath your underneath your arm, and then you load with your weak hand, strong or weak hand loading. But it's not left or right hand specific. Maybe there might be some sort of correlation that more right-handed shooters will load over the shoulder with their right hand, and maybe, but no, because if you're left-handed, you're shooting left, you're still using your dominant hand. So if you're a left-handed shooter, your dominant hand would, yeah. So I don't know if that truly stacks up, but there are two styles of loading. There is strong hand or weak hand loading, over the shoulder or under the arm. And what a lot of people, I think a lot of people find on the shoulder or over the shoulder easier to do as a beginner. Certainly that's what I found, and that's what I ended up practicing more. But as you develop, you may find that with practice and training, you are faster doing it weak hand, doing it under the arm. So if your kit is all set up from when you first were doing it over the shoulder, and you want to switch it over to that different technique, then you're stuffed if your rig doesn't allow you to interchange between right and left hand. So flexibility, we're always progressing, we're always getting better, and we're always, if you're not changing things up, if you're not trying different things as a competitor, then it's going to stifle your progression. And don't be scared to change. Don't be scared to try new things. And again, with all of the magload loaders, you have that complete flexibility. If you want to change it all over to a weak hand setup, you can. The next day you can change it to a strong hand. There's so many people that sweat about, when you go and buy the Pro, you're given 3 options: unassembled, assembled, or left hand assembled, right hand assembled. And so many people fret about trying to get it right. And we're like, you can swap it over in 10-15 minutes, the whole rig, both a Nexus 28 or a Nexus 12. It would take you 10-15 minutes. Why are you worried? Go for what you think, practice it. If you don't like it, switch it over. It does, like, it's not going to cost you anything. What's going on about toxic gender politics out of this thread? It does nothing to help gun rights in the UK. What is going on? What is going on? Oh dear. Yeah, I don't really know what that has, why that has anything to do with these topics. But anyway, Truth Junkie, do you use your numb weak hand sometimes, Callum? No, I have people to do it for me. Off to Berlin for the weekend for a battlefield study, hoping to see some interesting small arms and few locations we are headed to. Okay, have fun there. I know what you're like for your sort of battlefield and your militaria, black guinea pig. I'm sure you will be keeping the Discord up to date if you do see anything interesting. So yeah, please do get us posted and keep us posted, and please do please enjoy. Please, I hope you have fun. Domo, yeah, I like that they spring back, so they give you back room for maneuverability, Leo, and military applicability. It's a work trip. Sorry, Domo. It's a work trip. You don't know how good you've got it. I'm sure you'll be working very hard. Okay, so in terms of Leo and military applicability, yes. And that's what I'll say. There are potentially other uses and other markets for the reflex, but big benefits within the sporting. But yeah, this did have, or does have, another area in mind. Whoop. It's drop proof as well. I'm not used to them moving. That's, you know, it's so weird to have them move. It's so cool. You can just sit there playing it forever. Anyway, yes. In terms of other applications other than sporting, absolutely, we are well in tune to that. Andy, Carlos, how are the orders for your 1522 mags doing? Really well. Really happy. Yeah, everybody that has ordered, big thank you. We are on schedule. We were, I think, hoping for more middle of May. It's probably now looking more end of May for the delivery, but we're still within the May. We said May delivery. We are still within that bracket. But yeah, the mags, we had the sudden flurry of orders for the mags, but it's been a consistent ticker. People either finding it, finding it for the first time, or going, actually, screw it, I'm going to pre-order it. But a big thank you to everyone that has pre-ordered it, because we've sold more than what we thought we were going to do, and that's exactly why we pre-ordered it. We didn't want people, the main reason for us putting this time and effort and doing these magazines was to make sure that there's no shortage of magazines for the most popular types of mini rifle. And just to clear up, it is not specifically a 1522 magazine. It is a more universal AR-22 magazine. But yeah, because the demand has been more than what we thought, both on a retail and also a trade, because we will be selling them to the trade as well. So hopefully your local gun shop will have them. You don't necessarily just have to buy it from us. The demand has been a lot more than what we thought, which has caused us, or allowed us, having pre-ordered, to increase the numbers that we are buying in the first batch. So, you know, we're not just buying enough to fulfill the pre-orders, we're buying enough to fulfill the pre-orders plus a good amount of stock. And we want to keep that maintained. We never want to be sold out of the magazines, because we know how frustrating it is when, you know, your mags break or you need a new mag, you can't get one. That again really does affect your competition. So I would, I would say at this point it's probably unlikely that we're gonna sell out, because we've got a much better idea. But if you want the magazine shipped on the day of launch, the day that we take them off of pre-order and they're open for sale, if you want to be one of the first in the country, then you have to pre-order it. The pre-orders will be prioritized over any non-pre-orders, and we will be aiming to get every single pre-order out the day that they land and the day that we take them off pre-order. So if you want to be the first, then pre-order it. But we should have good stock, unless there's any sudden flurries. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head over to magload.co.uk. I'll show you. I'll bring it up quickly. So, you know, for those that don't know what the hell we're talking about, we have developed a 22 LR magazine, and it can be used in a whole plethora of different guns, from the 1522 to the like the battle arms, the CMMG converted guns. It will have adapters, so you can use it in, and when I say adapters, I don't mean stuff that goes in the gun. It will affix securely to the magazine itself. You'll be able to use it in the likes. I've got the list here. I've got it in front of me. So you'll be able to use it with the 1522 and a better mag adapter out of the box, but you will also be able to buy adapters for compatibility with the Tippmann M422, Chris Defiance, and any CMMG 22. So if you don't want to run the better mag adapter, you can buy the adapters for these magazines and then run them there. All the additional ancillaries will not be released until the launch of the mags. So we didn't want to get into pre-ordering all of that, but we wanted to, make sure that everyone would get the mags. We will have stock when we launch it. We will have stock of the adapters. Obviously, there's probably not going to be as big a demand, so we can fend that off. But for what you're probably thinking, what the hell am I talking about? This is the 2.2 magazine. Don't take too. The design is going to be exactly the same. It's going to look very, very similar, but these are still prototypes in the photos. There are going to be, well, the final ones are going to look better. That's all I'm going to say. But the design is exactly the same in terms of the honeycomb. But there's just a few additional improvements that we're going to be putting in there. But yeah, we are. If you want to pre-order it, you can head over to maglo.co.uk. They are available to pre-order now. Andy, no problem at all. Urban Space Monkey, still alive. Yeah, apologies last week for abruptly going. Mac life, and everyone going, plug in your laptop. It is plugged in. I don't know what is. Basically, I'm drawing so much power that it's the battery is draining when it's plugged in. I need to go and see Apple about that. So yeah, I had it. The first time I had it was ages ago, and usually I can monitor it pretty well, but we're having a good stream. I wasn't watching it, and as soon as I get to like 5% battery, the computer basically goes into limp mode, cuts out the video. I think he still had audio, but yeah, I had to go very quickly before the entire thing shut down. So yes, not particularly pleased about that, because it's not exactly a low spec Mac. But the battery, I think, I just hammer it. All I use this machine for, apart from the obvious, is video editing and streaming. Very intensive. So I'm constantly hammering the battery, and I think it might need to go in under warranty. Happy, just get a PC. Do I look poor to you? Can't say that with a straight face. I'm not being serious, all right? But sort of am. I don't like Windows. I'm allergic to them. Like, honestly, I will kill a Windows machine. Granted, it's probably the best tool for the job. I will kill it. I give it a year. Like, if I'll go and buy one, and a streaming PC is not going to be a small amount of money. I'd probably be looking like a good 1,000 to 1,500 quid for a Windows setup. And then for me to break it after a year, that's just not good economy. I mean, this Mac has lasted about 18 months, and it's going strong, apart from the battery. Anyway, yes, I probably do need to get a dedicated PC streaming setup, or an iMac, or a Mac Pro, maybe even a Mac Mini. I don't know. I like Mac. I like Apple. I don't break it. It deteriorates and breaks itself, but I don't break it. I've never broken every. I still have. I actually have a 2 Mac setup. Right. Look at that flex, ladies. You know where I am. Bringing out that Mac flex. I've got my main Mac, which is the one that's getting absolutely hammered doing all the video processing, and then I also have the YouTube live control panel. So that's where I can see all the chat. That's where I can go live and end stream and all that. I can see all how many lovely people are here. Hit the like button, by the way. I can see the likes. And yeah, I just this Mac must be. Geez, when did I get it? I think I got this Mac the first year in my new job after uni. So this Mac is getting on for 8 years old. Probably 7, 8 years old. Absolutely fine. It's a trooper, right? Windows, the most I've ever got a Windows machine to work is a good 12 months. And this thing's gone 8 years. And the thing that I love about Macs the most is that it's still worth something. If I went to go and sell it, I'd still get a few hundred quid for it. you can't give away an 8-year-old Windows machine. But anyway, this isn't a gear or tech review. Happy, you'd be paying a lot more for a Mac Pro. I know, but I think it's worth it. Linux, no, I'm not PC. I'm not PC. I'm not computer enough for Linux. We used Linux. We had Linux machines at university. It just gave me the heebie-jeebies. I'm a hardware engineer by trade. I like physical things. I don't get turned on about software or operating systems or stuff like that. That's why I'm an Apple user. It might be very restrictive, but I don't want to go in there and fuck with it. When I go in there and fuck with it, I break it. It really is like my first PC. It really does go, oh, you're doing something dangerous. I'm pretty sure you don't want to do that. And you go, oh, yeah, go on, I'll try it. No, you're not going to do that. And it guides you. Like Apple just guides you away from killing your machine, and that's why they last so long for me. Domo, I've got to still wear my Mike Lindsay SP t-shirt of Coexist. I'll see what y'all's merch section is. English Shooting. Well, if you're coming to the show, then please do wear that. There is English Shooting merch. I don't have t-shirts, but I do have caps, stickers and patches. If you do want to head over to EnglishShooting.org, there is merch there. You can have a look. I've always got the tab open while I live stream, just in case someone so conveniently brings it up. And I also forget constantly that I've got it. But yeah, if you want some English Shooting merch, you got caps, you got stickers. You can have a sticker of Connor's face. Weird places where these end up. Another stuff. I do want to expand this swag section a little bit more. But yeah, in terms of English Shooting stuff, you've got the FlexFit. I love FlexFit caps. And stickers and patches. So EnglishShooting.org. And also, if you're interested in getting into the sport and getting your licenses, then you can go over to the videos, and there's all of the how to get into and start doing things videos. Technical term that. But yeah, EnglishShooting.org. You can support the channel through there if you want. And again, everything goes back to the channel. Any money, revenue from the channel is put back into the channel. So you're not paying for my next holiday or something. Honestly. People download Microsoft onto Linux machines. Yeah, I can believe it. Hoodies would be a good one. Or maybe not heading into summer. Hoodies are definitely something. I'm a big hoodie. I know I'm always wearing a gilet, but I'm a big hoodie wearer. So yeah, I'll maybe look into that. But anyway, it's going to be a very busy day tomorrow. We've got a long drive right up to Yorkshire. It's going to be early. Paul's picking me up at 6:30. It's closer to my bedtime than my normal wake-up time. I'm more of a night owl, if you hadn't guessed. I don't know why I don't do the streams later, actually. Don't know. Let me know what you would think about like a later stream. You know, like a 10 o'clock start. I mean, that would work probably better for the Americans. I don't know. Let me know. Let me use the comment section quickly before I head off, and let me know if a later stream would work better for you. Then maybe there would be less interruption as well. And more consistency. Could work all round. That's why haven't I thought about that before? Anyway, let me know. But if you're at the Northern Shooting Show, please do come by the Magload stand 25 in Hall 1. You shouldn't be able to miss us. And if you can't see us, you'll probably hear us. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining this evening. Don't forget to hit that like button. It does make a huge difference. It honestly does. And if you have enjoyed what you've seen this evening, then please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you can join us for the next one. We do this every single week, usually 7:30 p.m. UK time. Tonight's an exception because we've got the show tomorrow. But yeah, I'm going to get off. Again, thank you everyone for joining. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you enjoy the show if you go this weekend. If not, I hope you manage to go and get some shooting in elsewhere. And of course, as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.